The stars trembled that night. Have you ever felt the galaxies breathe? Can silence hum with memory? Does light dream when no one watches? Beyond the veil of the cosmos, a whisper moved, neither dark nor bright, only endless. The force pulsed like the heartbeat of time itself. Ships drifted through the emptiness, their lights flickering like lost candles in an ocean of void. From far above the silver horizon of Velis Prime, an ancient prophecy stirred once more. Jedi and Sith, twin flames destined to consume each other. Yet somewhere, buried deep beneath fear and fury, lingered a fragile echo of peace waiting to be heard. The war was coming, but the story did not begin with battle. It began with a breath, one quiet inhale before the storm. Morning dawned over the Temple of Aelion, and the wind carried the hum of awakening. Kale Renner stood before his Padawan, Torin Vale, the air between them thick with quiet tension. The boy's eyes searched his master's, seeking answers about the gathering darkness. Kale only said, "The force stirs in sorrow, my apprentice. The stars speak of imbalance." Outside, clouds shimmered gold as the temple bells sang. Somewhere beyond those clouds, unseen hands were shaping the end of an age. Far across the galaxy in the dark citadel of Voss, Darth Saria stood before her master's empty throne. Shadows moved like living ink along the walls, whispering old temptations. She felt the pull of destiny, but not the peace it promised. The darkness was powerful, but it was lonely, so deeply, painfully lonely. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Kale meditated beneath the great crystal spire, his mind reaching through the force, searching for the voice that had been whispering since his dreams began. For the first time, he felt it answer. It spoke not in words, but in warmth, a light that filled the silence. The winds rose across the citadel's cliffs as Darth Saria stepped outside, the twin moons hanging heavy above her. She felt a pulse through the force, distant but alive. Somewhere, a Jedi was dreaming of peace, and somehow she could feel it, too. Beneath the golden dawn of Aelion, the wind carried whispers of war. Master Kale Renor stood on the temple balcony, eyes fixed on the horizon. The currents of the force trembled, threads of light twisting with shadow. Torin Vale approached quietly, the eagerness of youth barely hidden beneath solemn respect. Kale spoke softly. "When the force trembles, even silence speaks." Torin hesitated, "And when silence answers, Master, should we listen?" The question lingered like a seed in the morning air. Somewhere far away, the same wind reached a Sith citadel, and a young warrior felt it brush her face. In the crimson chambers of the Sith citadel, Darth Saria Voss knelt before a pool of molten light. The reflection shimmered with images of Jedi ships mobilizing across the galaxy. Anger rose within her, fierce and hot. Yet beneath it, an ache for something she could not name. The Jedi prepare for war. A disembodied voice hissed from the shadows, "Strike before they strike you." But her heart whispered, "What if they are afraid too?" The first sparks of battle began not with a clash of sabers, but with a misunderstanding. A Jedi scout ship entered forbidden space near the citadel of Voss. Saria's forces mistook it for an assault. In the void between the stars, engines ignited and laser fire tore across the silence. Kale sensed it instantly. His eyes opened mid-meditation, a whisper of despair leaving his lips. The fire has begun. In the aftermath, Torin stared at the holographic display of the skirmish. His voice trembled. They were defending their world, weren't they? Kale placed a hand on his shoulder. Fear turns defense into offense, my student. The line between them fades when hearts burn too bright. He felt the force pulse again, and somewhere across the galaxy, Saria felt it too. two souls connected by a single ripple of sorrow. The night that followed was long and still. On the world of Velis Prime, the twin moons aligned for the first time in centuries, and the rivers of crystal began to glow brighter. A sign of the Force reacting to imbalance. Darth Saria walked through her citadel's silent corridors, her fingers grazing cold, obsidian walls. For a moment, she closed her eyes and felt the light calling from beyond the stars. In that fleeting instant, she did not feel like a Sith, only a soul longing to understand. Darkness swept across the outer systems like a tide. Worlds once filled with peace now echoed with alarms. Amidst the chaos, Master Kale Renner stood alone beneath the crystal dome of the Jedi Council chamber. The other masters debated, voices clashing like blades of reason and fear. But Kale remained silent. He no longer heard their words, only the sound of the Force, trembling softly beneath the noise. Somewhere within that vibration, he felt a familiar presence, distant, yet aching. The same pulse that haunted his dreams. And he whispered to the stars, "She is waking." Across the galaxy, in the cold heart of the Citadel, Darth Saria Voss felt the same vibration, a call that made her stop mid-stride. For the first time, the darkness did not feel like armor. It felt like weight. She moved toward her private chamber, drawn by whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. A voice, soft, ancient, full of sorrow, spoke within her mind. "You remember the light, don't you?" Her eyes closed. A single tear fell, glowing faintly red in the darkness. Torin Vale trained alone in the temple's practice hall. Each swing of his saber glowed blue, cutting through floating dust motes like fireflies. But his movements lacked focus. His mind was clouded, not by anger, but by uncertainty. He remembered the fear in the eyes of the Sith soldiers during their last skirmish. They hadn't looked evil, just lost. He lowered his weapon and whispered, "Master, what if light and dark are the same sky seen from different sides?" Far beyond the known worlds, Kale sought answers in the crystal caves of Ilum, where ancient Jedi once forged their sabers. The walls pulsed faintly, reflecting memories of past battles. As Kale walked deeper, light and shadow danced across his face like ghosts. Then he heard her voice, clear and gentle, though he had not heard it in years. "Kale!" He froze. The Force trembled again, and in the shimmer of the crystal walls he saw her, Saria, as she had been before the fall, smiling softly, unafraid. The illusion faded, but his heart did not forget. That night, Saria dreamed of the same cave. In her vision, she saw Kale walking beneath the crystals, his figure wrapped in light. She reached toward him, but the dream fractured into fire. Explosions, screams, stars collapsing into silence. She awoke breathless, the Force echoing through her chamber. "If he is my enemy," she whispered, "why does his sorrow feel like mine?" Outside, the twin moons drifted apart, a sign that the balance was breaking. Velis Prime shimmered beneath the twin suns, its crystalline rivers singing softly in the wind. The air was alive with power, the Force itself flowing visibly, bending light like water. The Jedi and Sith fleets hung in orbit, both hesitant, both afraid. In the heart of the planet's mirrored plains, Master Kale Renner stood alone, waiting. His robe rippled in the rising storm. He knew she would come, not as a conqueror, but as an echo of all he had once lost. The Force whispered through the crystalline breeze. Light meets dark, not in war, but in reflection. From the horizon came a hum, low, haunting, familiar. A crimson ship descended, leaving a trail of light behind it. When the hatch opened, Darth Saria Voss stepped out, her cloak billowing like smoke. For a long moment, she and Kale simply stared at one another, the silence between them heavier than any saber. Kale's voice broke the stillness. "You've changed." Her reply was soft. "So have you." The Force shimmered between them, no longer as enemies, but as two sides of a single truth. Around them, the fleets above grew restless. Commanders barked orders, weapons powered up, and fear began to move faster than reason. Kale and Saria felt it simultaneously. The Force fracturing, the galaxy leaning toward collapse. She ignited her saber, its light painting her face in red sorrow. Kale followed, his own blade humming blue serenity. The colors met in the air between them, not as hatred but as need, a desperate attempt to understand. The ground beneath them pulsed, the crystals singing louder, echoing their conflict. Their duel was not one of rage, but rhythm, a dance of memory and emotion. Each strike spoke of pain, each block of regret. Between clashes, Kale whispered, "You were my student once." Saria's voice trembled. "And you left me when I needed truth." The storm thickened, lightning of pure Force energy bursting from the crystal fields. Their blades locked, eyes meeting through sparks. And in that frozen second, both saw it. Fear in themselves, not in the other. When the storm finally broke, both stood breathless among shattered crystal and silence. Kale lowered his weapon first. "The Force is dying," he said softly. "Not from darkness, but from division." Saria's saber flickered, then dimmed. The wind carried her reply. "Fragile, human. Then perhaps we must fall together, so that it may rise again." Above them, the fleet ceased fire. For a heartbeat, the galaxy listened. Gung, the sky above Velis Prime burned with light. The duel between Kale and Saria had awoken something older than the Jedi, older than the Sith, a living storm within the Force itself. Crystals began to fracture across the planet's surface, glowing with blinding brilliance. Kale fell to his knees, the weight of 1,000 years pressing on his soul. The Force no longer whispered, it screamed. Every thought, every emotion across the galaxy echoed within him. Love, fear, grief, rage, all blending into unbearable noise. He cried out, "Balance is breaking!" And the heavens answered with thunder. In orbit, the Jedi and Sith fleets opened fire in confusion. Light streaked across the void, endless lines of red and blue colliding in silence. Ships disintegrated into shimmering dust, their debris falling toward the planet like metallic rain. Among the chaos, Torin Vale screamed over the comms, "Ceasefire! You'll destroy everything!" But no one listened. Fear ruled them all. He turned his ship downward, racing through the burning clouds toward the surface, toward his master. Amid the storm, Darth Saria Voss rose. Her cloak torn, her eyes burning not with rage but grief. "This is not what I wanted," she whispered. The Force around her writhed in pain, a mirror of her soul. She reached out with trembling hands and felt Kale's presence through the chaos. Not his power, his sorrow. For a moment, the storm stilled. She remembered his teachings long ago when peace had a face and a name. Her saber fell from her grasp, its red glow fading into nothing. Torin's ship crashed into the glowing fields. He stumbled from the wreckage and saw them, Kale and Saria, standing at the heart of the storm. "Master!" he shouted, but Kale barely heard. His eyes were distant, glowing faintly with the Force. "The galaxy will end if we do not yield," Kale murmured. "It is our pride that tears it apart." Saria nodded, tears streaking her face. "Then let us yield together." They stepped forward, hands reaching through the trembling air as the Force screamed one final time. The moment their hands touched, the Force exploded into light. Not destruction, but release. Every crystal on Velis Prime shattered into dust, rising like stars into the sky. Across the galaxy, battles froze, weapons fell, and silence rippled outward like a gentle wave. Kale felt the storm dissolve within him, replaced by calm so deep It felt infinite. Saria closed her eyes and smiled. For the first time in years, she felt whole. The rift had come and gone, leaving behind only the quiet breath of a reborn force. Silence. That was all that remained. Velis Prime floated in stillness, its once shattered plains now blanketed in soft white dust that glowed faintly beneath the twin suns. The war was over, though no one could say who had won. Torrin Vale opened his eyes beneath the quiet sky. His ship lay in ruins behind him, but he felt no fear, only an endless peace that pulsed through the ground. The Force had changed. It no longer burned or battled. It breathed, he whispered. So, this is what balance feels like. Far above, the surviving fleets drifted without motion. Jedi and Sith alike looked upon the planet below, uncertain, speechless. Their anger had vanished, replaced by awe. The darkness within them felt strangely hollow, as if it had finally exhaled. One commander whispered, "We thought victory would come through power. But peace feels stronger than any weapon." No one replied. There was nothing left to say. In the heart of the planet, Kale Renner and Saria Voss awoke amid soft dust and silver light. The Force flowed gently around them, warm and pure. No longer two currents pulling apart, but one tide moving in harmony. Kale turned to her, voice soft as the wind. "Do you feel it?" Saria smiled faintly. "It no longer hurts." For the first time, the galaxy's silence felt like forgiveness. Torrin found them there, sitting side by side. He stopped a few steps away, unsure if he should speak. They looked nothing like enemies, not Jedi or Sith, not legends of war, but people. Kale rose slowly and placed a hand on Torrin's shoulder. "You will carry what we could not," he said. "Remember this silence and protect it." Torrin nodded, eyes shining with tears. "I will, Master." For the first time, the boy truly understood what the Force meant. Not power, but peace. Outside, the first green shoots of life appeared among the white sand. Velis Prime, once fractured by war, now began to bloom. Across the galaxy, meditation replaced battle cries, and silence replaced orders. Kale and Saria stood together on a hill, overlooking the reborn world. Their robes fluttered softly, their faces lit by morning's calm glow. They had seen the galaxy break, and now they watched it heal. Kale whispered, "The Force does not choose sides. It waits for hearts to listen." And Saria answered, "Then may it never fall silent again." Years passed and the galaxy healed. The stories of Jedi and Sith became quiet myths, whispered beside campfires and taught as lessons of humility, not pride. Worlds once scarred by war now shimmered with life again. Torrin Vale walked through a field of silver grass, the air rich with the hum of renewal. The Force was gentle now, like the ocean after a storm. He could still feel his master's presence in the wind, guiding him, reminding him that peace was not a gift, but a choice renewed each dawn. In the restored temple of Elian, once shattered by time, a new generation trained. They learned not to wield the Force as weapon or shield, but as breath. The teachings of both light and shadow were woven together like music, no longer divided, only balanced. Torrin watched from the balcony, the same one where he had once questioned his master. This time the answer lived within him. The Force was whole, and so was he. Far across the galaxy, in a quiet garden beneath violet skies, Saria Voss tended to small flowers that glowed with inner light. Her armor was gone. Her saber lay buried beneath the soil as nourishment for the growing things. She no longer sought redemption, she had found peace. Sometimes she still felt Kale's presence beside her, silent and kind. The Force, at last, spoke not through storms, but through stillness. And in the deep corners of the galaxy, the voice of the Force whispered once more, not in warning, but in warning. It spoke to those who listened in dreams, reminding them that every heartbeat carries both shadow and light. Its whisper echoed through the stars, across every world, every ocean, every silence. The Force is not the battle. It is the breath between them. At last, twilight came to Velis Prime once more. The twin suns sank beneath the horizon, their light merging into one final glow. Torin stood upon the same hill where Kale and Saria had once stood, listening to the quiet hum of the Force flowing through the world. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly, peacefully. The galaxy was whole again, not because the war had ended, but because hearts had finally remembered how to listen. And as the stars shimmered awake, the voice of the Force whispered softly, "Rest now, for balance is eternal."